We're together.
Yeah.
Yay! Finally in the same room together. Locker room episode 9. But let's go straight into last week's results. We had Mavericks 62 defeating Swifts 60. I mean, it was a great win by the Mavs
And
in the end.
There was one that they needed, I think, to convince some people. All of the discussion that they've been having in the off season with the recruitment that they've done, that they're having these culture meetings and it's, oh, we're going to do something special this year. That was a win that I needed to see. To be fair, it is the Swifts who are sitting 7th on the ladder. So, how much can you read into it? I just thought that they managed the big moments better. Obviously, Grace Wecky turning around and throwing that ball out, and it just wasn't a great game for the Swifts in the end. But one that the Mavs really needed, and I said it on broadcast, I'm now on the bandwagon. I've had them in my 4 for a while, but I am on the Mavs bandwagon. They need to show the rest of the netball fraternity that they can do this week in, week out, actually win tough games against tough opponents, but a big win.
What about the penalties? Because that was a hot topic in the press conference with Bryony Aikle saying, we don't train to be on the ground. Mavs have always been high. Sometimes at the end of a game, that is when fatigue starts to set in. I do think there needs to be clarification around it, but I'm always under the impression that you start the game in the first 5 minutes, you really set the tone, and that then carries you in. Yeah, it was a big talking point.
It is. It has been. And even last night, and we're going to recap first game of round 9, which is Fever in Adelaide. And Gordy on broadcast last night spoke about the penalties and how there's been a lot of talk in the media. Are the umpires reading into it? Are they adjusting how they're umpiring the game? Because there was high penalties for Fran Williams last night. But I actually thought in that Mavs and Swifts game, the change didn't come from the umpires at all. There was no difference in how they'd umpired the week before to that game. And clearly the Mavs said, we're not going to change it. You are going to have to make us change it. This is how we play. If you don't like it, officiate us out of the games. I actually thought it was a really interesting piece. Murphy came on broadcast as well and said, yeah, there's things that we need to still sort of adjust, some balls that we're going for and the ratio of winning ball and penalties, but they are backing in how they're playing. Some people think it's rough and ready. I don't know, that's what they're backing in. The fact that there was a discussion around it, coaches are playing into this now. It's another game within the game. Kieran Wells did it the week before. She spoke about the penalties for the Mavs. Clearly, Bryony Aikle did it. So I think we will start to see the coaches using their press conferences a lot more to try and find a way to get under the skin, into the ears of the umpires, and that's another game away from SSN.
You know what I would love to hear from, though? I would love to hear from the umpire coordinator. I would love to have them to be able to come to a press conference and just say, hey, this is what they're saying. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're not. Accept it, adapt, be better, change.
Can you remember the years where you would be in the change room prior to a game? They would come in and they would check your nails and they would address the whole group. Now, I'm not in the inner sanctum anymore. I don't know whether they're doing it, but there was year on year, they would come into the change room, they would address the entire group and they would say, from last week, we picked up that tunneling was an issue last week. So we're going to be hot on that. We picked up on stepping. We picked up on this. This is something we are being hot on this week. It's an arm bar. It's a this hand. And they would communicate that with the players. I found it difficult because how are you telling us that 20 minutes before we're going on court? But there was that communication, there was the transparency that's what they picked up from their review, because I think it's also important for the fans to know that they're doing reviews, the umpires, week in, week out. They get little clips of what wasn't right, what was right. So they're doing reviews. They pick up on something that's happening and a theme within the SSN environment and they come in. I don't know whether 20 minutes before a game is right, but that is something that they're doing. So I agree with you. I'd love to hear from the umpires at the moment, just with how they're facing all of these coaches having their say about how they're officiating.
They deserve to have an opinion. They deserve to have a say. Second game was Thunderbirds 73, Firebirds 49. It was a massive blowout. I mean, there was a bit of shaky ground there for a couple of rounds for the Thunderbirds, but we really saw them go, you know what? We've heard you, we've made some changes, we've improved our game, and they came out absolutely firing.
Yeah, and I think it's also a reflection of where Firebirds are at. Yeah, you can have a great game a couple of rounds before, or you could win a really good one. But the thing is, and you've harped on about this, it's got to be consistent, and you have to be able to show up and put that out. And I feel like when the pressure came and they were pressed a little bit, the Firebirds, they went back to Firebirds of old and the Firebirds that we probably know exist more often than not.
I did want to ask you though, Shamira Sterling Humphrey being very open about her postpartum depression and the way that she is dealing with it while still pursuing her elite career. On Pivot, I thought Caitlin Thwaites spoke brilliantly about it and said, you know, we've got to kind of push away what it looks like or what we believe it should look like. It might look like 60 minutes. It might look like she can't make the game. It might be she gets on for 15, she has to come off. She's in and out. What's your thoughts on it? Because I feel like we have come a long way as a sport to even just be able to embrace her being so open about it.
Well, she did an interview last night with Caitlin Bassett and Sue Gordian, and the reaction on X and on social media, I think, was beautiful. Just the fact that she was able to be so open and vulnerable, and credit to Gordian Bass for making her feel like she could obviously do that. But I also think this is a wider netball space where we're saying, it's okay, you're not a video game player on our screens anymore. Because I feel like when we were growing up and through the ranks of SSN, I felt like at times I was only good for what I could do on a court on a Saturday afternoon. I was someone's video game player and they could love me or they could hate me. We're now really humanizing the players, and I give all the kudos and all of the hats off to someone like Shamira Sterling Humphrey, who is one of the biggest players in our game, saying, hey, I'm struggling. And this is what comes with being a mother, being an athlete. There is always so much more behind the scenes that's going on. Yes. Do we expect them to front up, park everything and put on a great game? Yes, we do, because that's your job. But sometimes that's just really fucking difficult.
Yeah,
difficult.
it's
I'm
hard.
sorry to swear, but there's a lot going on, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for everyone. I think bringing it to light, and we've seen Sasha Glasgow, we've seen Maisie Nankerville come out and speak about eating disorders and how the environments that they were in weren't good for how they were feeling about body image. We've had Liv Lewis come out and talk about, you know, feeling like she can be her authentic self with her sexuality. I am so proud of netballers coming out and actually showing who they are. I also think it's a credit to the netball community for welcoming that. I think we still have a long way to go when it comes to inclusivity and diversity, but kudos to Shamira. And I just think the more that we can talk about this and humanize our players, the more we are going to see brands, podcasts, people jumping on board, because that's what they want to see. They want to see the human behind the athlete. They don't just want to know that you can pass the ball.
Well, you want to see yourself in an athlete, which is why you get so emotionally attached to them in a way.
Ability.
Yeah, I really do love it. And the biggest thing as an athlete too is, you know, we harp on so much about the physical side because it is so visible. I've got a sore ankle, I've got a sore knee. But the mental, you can't see the injury. So it's really hard to obviously go, well, what does that look like? Because it's not a strict rehab to be able to get back. I would love to know how much work and time elite teams these days are spending. I know when I was finishing up, I was like, we should be spending as much time mentally prepping ourselves as we do physical. What about spending an hour doing mental training about nerves, anxiety, all of those types of things? I think that is the progression on where elite sport definitely needs to go.
Well, I think also if you think about it, and one of my favorite sayings is like, if you have a brain, you've got mental health. And I think often the connotation with mental health is it's a negative. Mental health is a negative space. No, mental health is probably the most positive thing we can put time and energy into, because how you're feeling throughout it, from the minute you wake up, there's emotions, there's feelings, there's how you're going into the day. Are you tired? And just because you're an athlete doesn't mean that you are immune to any of that. So love it. Love all of the conversations that are happening at the moment. And I think we should just celebrate more people. Not that I hope people have problems or issues that they're going through, but I think if you can verbalize it and become really relatable to the fan, I think it only elevates netball a hell of a lot more.
Well, Sunday games, we had Lightning 54, 50. It was a tight one. This was actually my blinder. I thought that Lightning was going to upset Fever. I thought it was their time. They were so close. But once again, it's consistency. It's about owning the moments. It's about playing your roles within those moments. And Fever obviously just too strong in the end.
I liked the effort from Lightning. Again, just Fever in the big moments, able to capitalize. There was a lot of discourse around the reaction of the Lightning players to the umpires. Again, the umpire discussion. I think Lightning have a few things to clean up, but I said this weeks and weeks ago. I would still just love to see Lightning really hone in on what their identity is. I still Can't really tell you.
Do you think when we talk about owning clutch moments or owning those moments, do you think that actually comes with a group being together for longer because there has been a few little
They've been
changes?
together longer than most other teams. I look at it, Mavs, and you could argue that they haven't been
Well, they've
together.
fast-tracked it within rounds,
Yeah.
years. In SSN, you actually, compared to footy, we don't have a 5-year progression plan. Do you know what I mean? It's not, okay, we are building for a 5-year premiership. You're in the business of winning premierships every single year in SSN while still trying to develop. It's a very hard environment to be in. It can be cutthroat. It's quite high pressure, but that's what makes our sport so good as well.
And I think at risk of sitting on a fence here, you can argue that the Melbourne Vixens and the Thunderbirds have been together for a long time and they're the top two and separating themselves. So that can be an argument. But I think that there are teams doing better at gelling with a new look lineup. With the next game that we're going to talk about, the Giants over the last couple of rounds have found a way to put a team that has never played together on the court, challenging top of the table. And I look at, the Fever who played the Lightning last week. They hadn't fed Romelda Aitken-George until this year. She's an amazing player, but every goal shooter, you would know this, has a different way of needing to be fed. I don't think you can use that as an excuse. And I think, like I have identified a number of times, what are the Lightning about? I just don't know.
Yeah. If you do want to know how to feed 2 goalers, I did a masterclass with Kate Maloney a couple of weeks ago on Fox. We spoke about feeding a Nelson compared to feeding a Aitken George. You go 2 Jamaican shooters, 2 tall shooters, but really, really different.
So different.
So different. Speaking of that game, Vixen 66 to the Giants 64, I think it was a shake-up that no one really saw coming, but impressed with the Giants to be able to go, you know what? We can do this. And I know they didn't get the points in the end, but at least they were competitive for longer. And you can see them trying to change some of those things. What I did see from the Vixens, though, was when the pressure did come, it was like they went a little bit tight. You know how you play inside yourself and you're like, let's don't be the team that loses to the Giants. They're bottom, we're top. Hang on, we can't have this. That is something that teams need to watch for the Vixens and try and get that splintering a little bit through their units.
Yeah.
You want to create that disconnect, but credit to them, they still stayed calm and composed when they needed to, and they just have depth.
And they're willing to use it now.
And that was your blinder to see Lily Graham come onto the court. I do want to give a massive credit to Di Honey here because you and I have been coached by Simone. I don't think Simone would have pulled the trigger. Di Honey obviously was like, I think I'm going to play Lily Graham this game. And regardless of the state of play, she still put her on there. 11 minutes, but she still put her out there. That's risky.
I think you can have that luxury, and the way I look at it is Vixens are now so far ahead in terms of wins that not that you want to drop that one, but you can toy around a little bit more with like, okay, we put Lily on, we see what she can do in a pressure cooker situation. We give her that exposure. Again, she hasn't been in this situation for a long time. Doesn't matter if we lose this game, or is that going to be a win getting Lily Graham on? I think you can play around a little bit like with that where the Vixens are at the moment, but I still loved it. And my blinders are intact.
And mine still non-existent.
Can we recap round 9, which was last night, the start of round 9, Friday night netball? Fever and Thunderbirds. I love this matchup.
Do you like Friday night netball?
I do love Friday night netball. I was switching between the netball and the football last night, but I also just loved the fact that, yeah, I like it. I like sitting on the couch.
Actually gets you excited. I mean, I'm not playing this weekend, but it's like, I was like, oh, I could get out tomorrow. I can't wait. I get excited for my netball. Like it really preps your weekend.
No, I do like Friday night netball, especially at RAC over there. They've kept that fixture for a couple of seasons now. But the end result, Fever 45, Thunderbirds 65, 20 goal margin. Steve Neild returned, which is a real big positive for Fever outside not many others. 7 points in quarter 2 for the Fever. I can only imagine what Dan Ryan had to say at halftime. The sweet spot is around that 15 goal mark. Tanya Obbs at the start of the year said we've set a target that if we could score 15 points in a quarter, yes, but that sets you up for 60 goals.
It
regardless
does.
of 2-point time, regardless of any bonus super shots that you might get in there. 15 points sets you up for a 60-goal win. If you can score 60 goals, you should be winning most games. 55 goals for the Fever. I don't know how you are being competitive with that.
You just haven't got the volume. No quarter wins, sitting around that 12, 13, and then a 7. You can't compete, which has been the Giants' problem. They just aren't getting that volume.
And I think the problem that I maybe identified last night for the Fever is in years past, one of their greatest assets is having 10 players that they can rotate on and off and on and off. And most of the time in the last couple of years when they've been up there in finals, and they still will be this year, it's been you take someone off and you put someone on, you're not really losing a lot. Last night, he tried every different combination that he probably could, found different ways to put Ruth Ariang in wing defence, Ruth Ariang in goalkeeper. Fran came off at one point. She went into goal defence. The Kranzberg sisters swapped roles. Alice Teague-Nield came on. Olivia Wilkinson came on. They put a moving circle on at one point. He tried everything. And not one single combination found a way to get in the groove. And when he took one person out of one position and put another person in, it didn't fix the problem.
Yeah.
I almost feel like now he's got too much to play around with and not enough people or not enough of a 7 to go, this is my 7 and I know this 7's going to get it done when I put it on. Last night, searching for answers time and time again, 20-goal deficit. That's a big gap between 2 and 3. So another big positive, though, games record equalised Romelda Aitken-George and Kath Cox. 245 games, I'm pretty sure, which is an amazing feat.
Unbelievable.
So we're talking about Scott Pendlebury in the media at the moment wearing a gold 10.
I'm all for it. Bring it.
Should she wear a goal shooter bib next week?
Or at least have her name on the back in
gold.
gold.
Okay.
Or the number on the side, but some gold. Reckon.
West Coast Fever, over to you.
Yeah, and netball community put it out there. We want to see Romelda with something gold on her dress. Why not? If we're celebrating this for Scott Pendlebury, I think we should do it.
I agree.
So last week on Fox, on the Pivot Show, I was asked to do a mid-season team of the year. Now, it's always hard. There's always going to be people that agree, people that don't. But I wanted to get your take. How did you sum up my team? I'll rephrase it once again. It was goal shooter, Maureen Vanderberg, goal attack, Kira Austin, wing attack, Georgie Horges, centre Kate Maloney. That's probably the biggest position that had a lot of question marks over it. Wing defence, Latanya. Goal defence, Fran Williams. And goalkeeper, Shamira Sterling Humphrey. How'd you think it went?
I thought it was an excellent one, and I loved the discourse. I think the other thing that people need to understand is when you're asked to do this, the whole point is to get the discussion.
Yep.
And so no one is sitting here going, oh my God, they came at Madi. No, it's generally
I'm like, have your say, have your opinion. This is the whole point why they asked me to do it.
And one of the best things about the netball community and netball chaos, which is the hashtag on X, is that everyone has their opinion and they fully believe it. So there's plenty of people that think you were wrong. I loved your team of the year and I can understand your decisions. You spoke about the centre position. I really understand why Kate Maloney was put in there. The other options could have been Kate Heffernan, Jamie Lee Price. Now,
huge contenders. I love a Kate Heffernan. I love a Jamie Lee Price.
And it's not to say they're not having brilliant years.
They are. There's also one name could be attached to a centre bib.
You could have just said Kate and then covered 2.
I should have. Maybe I should have, absolutely. But to give you my reasoning behind it, it obviously mid-season, every team's played everyone. I looked at those and I was like, okay, well, when they actually played each other, who won their bib or who got the better? And Kate won those positions when she played. Yeah, you're having a great season. She's having a great season. But who's beaten you both when it really counted and whose team has got the chocolates when it really counted? Kate Maloney. And a lot of the time it is what she provides with everyone else on court, not just in her role, but how she brings other people in. I was like, that's exactly the perfect centre game you want and need. Hence why I went Kate Maloney. Credit to Jamie Lee Price and Heffernan. Love your seasons. Kate Maloney beat you both times.
And I think I love disagreeing with you because that's what we do as sisters, right? So
if anyone's going to disagree too,
I could easily sit here and disagree with you. But I think a few weeks ago, we were quite hard on Sophie Dwyer being in the Giants lineup, talking about the experience that she has and asking why she, as an amazing player, can't drag her team closer or over lines, right? She has turned shit around. Her last few weeks, unbelievable. Thank you for shutting us up.
Yeah.
So I think you have to look at that and turn it on the other side and say there has to be an argument where you say Kate Maloney and the play that she has put together is the reason that the Vixens are on top. Anyone come at me and I'm happy to have this argument. The Vixens do not sit top of the table with anybody else, well, not with anybody else in centre, without Kate Maloney in
they do.
centre.
Yeah.
I believe that she has put together, sometimes it's not the highest stat game, sometimes it's not really reflected on the points, because that was a lot of the argument around JLP. She's leading net points, and net points I do understand.
Stats are stats, though. Stats can absolutely aid to the argument. They also can be like, well, you look at shooters and I'm like, well, how are you getting the ball? Who's supplying it?
It's
Are you
also
getting
like
enough?
the goalers who miss goals and then have 11 rebounds to their name and you get positive points
Yeah,
for rebounds.
top of the attacking rebounds.
You also get half a point for passing the centre pass. So,
Correct.
Net points have a use, but that's not the whole game. And you know what net points don't show? How you can bring other people into a team, how you can lead a team. Heffernan wasn't there when the Thunderbirds lost to the Vixens. Kate Maloney was. The Mavs and JLP, Kate Maloney did get the. I also think, like I said, there has to be something that counts for a player being in that position and making their team win.
Yeah.
I think team record does come into it.
And even like a Fran Williams, there's like, you could have had a Bruce. There's plenty of other players but it's like, okay, penalties. What do I want to see from a goal defense? What are your main stats that you should be owning? Where else are you assisting? Is your goalkeeper absolutely killing it? A wing defense position was the other one with a Tanya Wilson versus an Amy Parmenter. Parmenter is showing that she's, very much up there in Diamonds discussions and things like that. She should be back in that squad where she has been prior. But once again, who's shutting down their opponents? Who's owning what I believe a wing defense should be doing on court? Is that going to be my team of the year? No, it's my mid-season team of the year.
Yeah.
I love the discussions. There is still obviously room to grow. Maybe JLP will be in there at the end. Maybe it will be Kate Heffernan. Maybe we'll have a totally different goal shooting lineup. Who knows?
Second half of the season is always very interesting because the best thing about SSN, and we've said this before, you play everyone twice. So you've got one to go back, review what happened, who killed you last time.
Yeah.
Second half of the season is always so different. If you dominated a contest, say like I dominated the Giants, I can guarantee you they're shutting me down the second half of the year.
I mean,
it changes.
You got to have your bag of tricks, but you've also got to be able to then go, all right, when that is being obviously shut down or they're wiping me out, I might not be having a great game, but how does everyone else around me have an even better game and kind of add extra to them to cover for me maybe not being able to get my 7 out of 10? And that is the main thing. 7 out of 10, you're winning your bib. You can't expect to have a 9 or a 10 out of 10 every single game. It just does not happen like that. Not when you're playing the world's best in the world's best competition against the world's best players. 7 out of 10 is owning your bib. Anyway, that was my mid-season team of the year. Let's talk about trending netball news. Some massive stuff happened during the week. Vixens 10,000 memberships. Massive effort. It begs the question, is John Cain Arena too small? Do they need to start going to a Rod Laver Arena as their home venue? Great. We've just got to ask Disney on Ice first and then we'll be good to go. Such a huge thing for the sport. Mothers returning. Another mother returns. It is Paige Hadley, 10 weeks after giving birth.
Superhuman.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I haven't had a child, so I have no idea what that would be like, but it just sounds insane.
Well, it was quite interesting because we obviously have a broadcast chat and everyone was just like, oh, Paige, like, congratulations. Unbelievable efforts. Tuivati's response was the best I'd heard. She's inspirational, but also bonkers. Good luck to her. I think the other thing people need to understand is there is footage from before she gave birth. She was doing netball stuff right up to like quite late in her pregnancy. Now you could go, oh, that's at risk. She would have had medical staff with her all the time. They are not putting her in that situation. She's not putting herself or her baby in that situation. Even Molly Jovic, I saw the other day.
Yeah, she's still doing
running 3 times a week because she's in that elite environment. Not everyone gets access to that, but they're also maybe superhuman.
The one thing I do want to say off the page, Hadley, you can have all of your own opinions on it, but I also will always say the one thing that I learned about being an athlete is that I know my body better than
Yeah.
anybody else. You would know your body now. You would know when you're feeling something. I could probably diagnose whatever's going on in my knee prior to having to go and see a physio. You get so in tune with how your body's feeling. So I can guarantee you that there's no way that she's stepping out there if she doesn't think that she's ready. Really knows within herself that that's the right thing that she wants to do. And that is also not diminishing from maybe someone who 4 months after having a baby goes, I couldn't do that. That does not make you any less
No.
or Paige any more. It's just she understands where she's at. She clearly wanted to do netball. Now, for me, I'm not even having a baby and I don't want to do netball.
Yeah.
So, do you know, like it's one of those.
It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice. You mentioned Molly Jovic. I love that they're still doing that, and I also think we should just celebrate the fact because there's not so much of that in the world as a whole. Women coming back from having kids and wanting to show their kids that, like, mum has a dream. She clearly wants to go to the Commonwealth Games and put her name up for that. She clearly would want to try and help her team get back on track because they're not having the season that they want. So if she has a dream and she wants to show her kid in 10 years' time, look, mum came back 10 weeks after having you, got on court at a Com Games at the end of the year. I am all for women chasing dreams and showing people that they don't just have to be a mum or they don't just have to be a this or we're not in a box. And she's saying, I'm a netballer, this stuff, and we've got amazing role models in netball at the moment. Whatever people's opinion is, I just know that there's a lot of people that have made this decision for Paige to say, yeah, you're ready to go. And she's the number one person that's saying, I'm healthy and ready.
Yeah. And you got to back them in. I do want to once again say a huge, like, kind of clap. It's just so nice to see where our sport it's progressing. We are growing as years go on. And 5-10 years ago, you didn't see mothers return from sport. One, whether it's the pay, it's the support, contracts and things like that, the fact that you can come back. We are progressing, which is great to see. And I think that's good from a sports point of view. 7 mothers, I think, are taking to the court this week and with their babies in tow, all at various ages. Credit to them. And on that, it is Mother's Day on Sunday. It is a tough day for you and I. But I just wanted to ask, what is the best piece of netball advice mum ever gave you?
Oh, that's a hard one. She would always say 2 arms, 2 legs. And just basically, whoever you're coming up against, it doesn't matter if they are the best player in the world and everyone's writing articles about them and they're the most celebrated player. You are just as good if you believe in yourself. So I think she would always say, yeah, like it's what happens between the ears and you're just as good as the other person. So go out and believe it. I think that's a nice one.
That is a good one. Mine would be the fact that she always just talked about if that door is ajar, there is an opportunity. So don't just wait for someone to open it. You slam it down, you run through it yourself and you make the most of those opportunities. So that would be my favorite netball mum advice.
There's
so many. So if you'd like to share yours, we'd love to hear them. I want to hear what's your favorite netball mum advice. Just a little update, Minute with Madi and also our local legends. We're going to shift that straight over onto social, so stay tuned for that. Now, remaining round 9, one game today on Saturday is Swifts v Lightning. Who you got on that one?
I'm going to go Swifts. Let's go, Paige Hadley. Comes back in. She dominates. She gets 20 goal assists.
Oh, hey. So you blunder?
Sure.
Yeah. And then tomorrow we have Giants and Mavs and Vixens and Firebirds. I mean, I would have said probably last night was probably the match of the round.
No, my match of the round is Giants and Mavs. Giants, for what they put out last week against the Vixens, they are there and abouts when they want to be, when they put it all together. Sophie Dwyer has turned her year around. And the Mavs, I have put so much pressure on them. You win that game last week against the Swifts, but the Giants are playing better netball than the Swifts at the moment. And if the Mavs are to be taken seriously, they have to dominate this contest. So I am very excited for the Giants Mavs.
Blinder of the week, I'm going to say Shimona Nelson, 50 plus. Guys.
Okay, love it.
When Shimona's hitting 50 plus, that's her. So Mavs are going to win. Shimona's going to hit over 50.
Okay. Vixens, Firebirds. Not sure about that one.
Vixens, I think, are just going to be way too strong.
No, I meant the margin.
Okay. All right. Well, that is us done for a wrap. Good luck to everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all of those out there celebrating, especially whether you do or you don't have one. Celebrate them. They're very important people in your life. And good luck to everyone playing netball this weekend. Bye.